It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
Oh, let's review.
We'll analyze the scene
Sounds holly jolly to me.
before it's over. Let's begin.
Bum.
Bum.
That's right, folks. Since the Christmas season is upon us, we thought the way to celebrate and get into the holiday spirit would be with some holiday reviews.
6 to be exact, selected and arranged for your Yuletide pleasure.
So silver up those bells like the multicolored lights and go out and build a snowman to join us as we engage in some seasonal
Shenanigans!
shenanigans. And tonight we are unwrapping The Night Before. That's right, the underrated Seth Rogen, Joseph Gordon Levitt, and ooh, hey, we got an MCU here. We got an MCU. It's Anthony Mackie. Uh, so this is a Christmas comedy dragon. I believe it's from 2012.
No, Tiki,
Question mark.
2015.
2015. Okay, I don't
Year
know why
after
I thought
Winter
it was
Soldier.
2012. All right, so 2015. Dragon, I gotta say, this movie just like totally came and went for me without much fanfare. I didn't check it out at all. It kind of got really middling reviews. And yeah, just gonna come out and say it. Watching it, you were hyping it up. You were saying you thought I was really gonna like it, and you were not wrong. I really enjoyed this one. Now, look, I'm not gonna sit here and say like if I were reevaluating my, best films of 2015, that it'd be on the top 10 or anything like that. I mean, it is just at the end of the day, just kind of like a silly throwaway comedy. But Dragon, honestly, the Christmas is kind of what makes it. Like we've sort of dissected here, sort of the roots of Christmas here. Like what makes I feel like what makes a good Christmas movie, the criteria is very different than what makes a regular movie. And this to me, it's like it's a Christmas movie with a really fun twist, and I quite enjoy it for that. And I will say that Seth Rogen, say what you will, but I honestly think this is one of his better comedic performances. Just because, my God, Dragon, I can say, I think his drug acting is incredibly accurate. I really do. Seth Rogen just cracks me the hell up in this movie. Just everything. I love his storyline in this. Almost to the point where it kind of takes away from the other two. The other two are good, but man, I love all the Seth Rogen stuff in this movie. And of course, Dragon, of course, we got to. This movie is. We'll build to him. We'll build to him, but let's just say this movie's kind of defined by a very memorable bit part by a well-known actor.
Indeed, indeed. All right. For me, so the night before, so the cast definitely appealed to me on this one. It really did. And like now I have seen some of Jonathan Levine's directed films, some of the films directed by Mr. Levine, and I tell you, it's no wonder after learning, because I didn't know that he directed this. I had no idea. But after kind of going back to this and learning, oh my God, Levine did this. Because earlier this year, one of my the film that really jumped out at me this year, Long Shot, another Seth Rogen movie, was directed.
Levine did Long Shot. I really need to see that
Yeah, he
one.
did. So here's the thing: he did Long Shot. He's done a lot of really interesting comedies, and with
I
Seth
know
Rogen.
he's done
So
50/50. I need to
that's the
see
big
that
one.
too.
That's
Yeah.
the big one he did, and he did Long Shot, and he did this. He's done some others. I'm saying those are the three kind of jump out to me, and all three kind of linked by Seth Rogen, which is kind of interesting.
The
So,
Rogan trilogy, bro.
sure. Point being, I've kind of become a fan of Levine's work, man. I really have to go see 50/50 because I always heard that was good, and especially after seeing the two movies I have liked from him, I definitely at some point I'm going to check out 50/50, give it a proper watch, and see how I like that one. Regardless,
Sounds like a future movie memoirs catch-up, Dragon.
yes, it sounds like it indeed. And my point is, so learning that, it's like no wonder why this was so much fun because I've always there was a fondness for this movie, hence the reason I brought it up before I found it kind of the Levine connect of it all here. And And basically, the great thing about Jonathan Levine's movies is that he kind of takes, or Levine, I'm not sure how they go about that. Let's just say Levine for simplicity's sake here. I love how he basically takes an irreverent premise, but he adds a heartfelt center to it, which leads to a lot of fun. That's kind of the formula of Jonathan Levine at its best, in my experience of it. And this is a crazy Christmas Eve adventure, with kind of that Evan Goldberg and Seth Rogen signature, because they produce this, and that also is many times, even if they don't direct a piece, or usually their fingerprints are all over through the making of it. You
Hmm.
can definitely kind of see that slant of their style, and they're really swinging for the fences, as it were. So the signature tone of those guys is there, and you have a lot of reverent laughs for days in a sweater laden comedy, and it's quite delightful, I will say.
Right, so it's a very basic plot, but I think the simplicity is kind of part of its charm. So lay out that simple plot, Dragon.
All right, plot goes a little like so. So you have these friends who start a tradition of spending Christmas Eve together to lift the spirits of their friend Ethan, who lost his parents on Christmas of 2001. So on the 15th year of said tradition in 2015, they decide to end the tradition as Isaac is an expecting father and Chris has become a famous athlete. So this year, Ethan happens to score tickets to the most coveted Christmas party, the Nutcracker Ball.
Ooh.
So suffice it to say, seasonal shenanigans ensue. As Ethan's relationship problems get a little dredged up, Isaac has a has a bad drug trip, and Chris chases down a Grinch in, and I'm not exaggerating that, folks. He essentially chases down a Grinch. And there's some stuff along the way you just have to see to believe, folks. There really is, culminating in some self-reflection, some drug dealing angels, and a baby born on Christmas Day. And that's the movie.
All right, all right. Okay, so yeah, let's get into the characters here. We'll start with Ethan Miller, portrayed by Joseph Gordon Levitt. Dragon, I feel like you and I have always kind of been big champions of Gordon Levitt, man. We've always been fans of him.
Yeah, man, Levitt kills it all, man. JGL, man, JGL all the way.
And honestly, this is I really related to this character, not just like, hey, it's JGL, but just this guy who's kind of like going into his 30s and doesn't really have any direction in life. He's kind of skating by on like vague artistic endeavors that he's probably not ever gonna finish. Dragon, I gotta tell you, that kind of struck a nerve with me that was uncomfortable in a good way, how relatable it was with my own life right now.
Yeah, I feel that I think they were smart enough to take advantage of the fact of, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, of course, one of the most kind of famous qualities about the man. The man, he's very much kind of perpetually a young man. He's kind of,
Right, right.
very much kind of the baby face, JGL. Again, someone go kind of a few rounds with DiCaprio, one could argue. And
Oh God.
in that regard, no, but seriously though,
No one could beat. I mean, DiCaprio was just unnatural in the baby face department. All right.
no, but seriously, I too am a huge fan of not just for like the whole JGL, but no, for the fact of Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He's a really fine actor, he is, and we don't see him in enough things, man. 'Cause when
You
he
know what
shows up,
my
man,
dream JGL stunt casting would be?
what is your dream stunt casting?
Tarzan.
Ooh, that'd be good. Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
if Disney did the remake?
Yeah. Exactly. A live action remake.
Ah, that'd
Yeah.
be cool. That'd be
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have come up with that. I supported that casting. That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's always great to see Joseph Gordon-Levitt take on these roles, and again, he does really bring something to this role. And this role, in a sense, seems like it's crafted to take advantage of, like, the youthful. It takes kind of the whole youthful side of him, in that he is. I found it fascinating. We gave him this trauma, this character, this trauma. If he lost his parents at a young age, and basically,
On
15
Christmas, no less.
on Christmas, no less. Yeah, and basically that trauma, in fact, birthed this act of kindness and true friendship that also has kind of held him back all these years. And that's the idea. The idea that he is kind of these. Essentially, he's almost has like a Peter Pan effect going on here, where
Hmm.
he's afraid to grow up because his parents are taken away from at such a vulnerable age. literally it's at the maturing phase of like, when it's like the complete taken out of the equation, like right amongst, the cusp of like, what next, and it was like taken out of the equation. He's left in this kind of this uncertain place, which is why he's really just kind of like, holding on to dear life to these traditions and to the friends, because again, and especially at that, very sensitive time, like when his whole life was turned upside down, like the only stability he has is this group of friends.
Yeah, so is a main character in like a goofy Christmas comedy. I think he's got a lot of layers to him, man. He really does.
I think deep down we all have a fear of the future, and I love that's kind of that's his root problem. Each of our characters has kind of like a root
Ugh,
character.
I'm 29, Dragon. I don't fear the future at all. It's not like this is like the biggest age in your life where you fear the future or anything. Anyways, sorry.
My point is, each character has kind of a flaw or a hang up they need to go over, through the course of the film's story here. So, of course, Ethan's is that he fears the future, and in regards to Diana, like the other side here, each of our characters also is kind of linked to a female character who really has a reflection of their arc, or where they kind of need to get to their arc. They kind of hold the key from getting from point A to point B in their arc. So we have Ethan with Diana. He's getting up over the breakup of Diana, who is again another source of stability. But again, things went topsy turvy in the relationship when she wanted him to meet her parents, which obviously parents around the holidays even would be a sore spot for poor Ethan
You know what?
here.
I'm just gonna be like the man here. Like, yeah, parents are intimidating, but suck it up, man. Suck it up. That's no reason to lose a girl, you know?
Well, there was a little bit more attached to it, but primarily it was the parental thing. I mean, I sympathize in that. Again, it's like, yeah, I sympathize in the fact of, oh God, it's parents around the holiday, and she may or may not be aware of this fact. And the point being, I was like, that was something that made him uncomfortable, and he didn't make an effort beyond that point. That's where things kind of fell apart. Importantly, he's overcompensating with later on, he kind of overcompensates with his regrets over Diana, and that kind of throws things even further into chaos. Where essentially,
Really, Diana?
yes,
Sorry, I had to get it in there somewhere.
essentially his downfall is not being able to has not being able to let go, which of course, has led to things like he gets into a fight with literal Santa Clauses.
That's a great sequence.
He does, and again, it's over the fact that again he's still getting kind of the kid who hasn't grown up, but again he's taking up for nobility of Santa Claus and the fact that things don't change and things shouldn't change, and his friendship's being insulted, and that's the thing. He's afraid of changing and being welcome into a new family and all that sort of stuff. So that's very much kind of what his character flaw is, and he's really the uncertainty in the aftermath is really what kind of a is really what throws him. I mean, that's the whole thing. He wants to go out on a high note with the Nutcracker ball. It's like, oh my God, the Zenith. Maybe this will start a new tradition. Even, he's like, he wants to avoid facing the uncertainty afterwards. So he just cling on to everything he can, and just again, Diana's sense of stability, and Diana is the sobering lesson of no. You can't put that on me. I can't be like I can't be the anchor man. I can't be like the life raft here. I can't be the door in the Titanic. Okay, I can't support you, man.
So what you're saying is that it's like a girl that he's like really leaning on way too much, even though she can't like. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's getting a little personal for me, Dragon. Getting a little personal for me, and this is what I like about the movie.
Ethan was a very realistic and interesting character.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, yeah, and yet he still had the laughs because he still kind of had that Peter Pan dynamic. The Peter Pan syndrome that did kind of define his character both tragically and comedically.
Exactly.
All right. So,
let's talk Isaac.
Next?
Isaac
Greenberg. Yes, Greenberg.
Of course, Seth Rogen here, the wonderful Seth Rogen, and again, as we've mentioned earlier, very, very, very well-suited role for Seth Rogen. What's really interesting about this role for him is that he's kind of facing Seth Rogen. He's married, but he still doesn't have kids. And I found this so interesting. And again, like we're having characters being faced with kind of the next, kind of the next phases of life. All of our characters are in some way kind of faced with the future, or again, like moving on, moving past kind of the status quo, kind of the norm, the kind of the whole like the little triangle of triumvirate of their circle of friends here, where he's facing the fears and doubts of fatherhood. Which again, interestingly, I don't know. Maybe there's some truth in that for Seth Rogen again. Maybe there's some fears of fatherhood. I don't know. I don't know the guy.
Okay, can I just say, like, your wife giving you a freaking box of drugs for the last night of your tradition? Relationship goals.
That is.
Relationship goals, Dragon.
Yeah, so maybe we should talk a little bit about Betsy. So Betsy, of course,
I
Julian.
really liked Betsy, man. It's like, to me, like, she could have so easily been just a typical shrew, like, like, oh, you're getting fucked up when you should be a responsible father. You've got a baby coming. But instead, she instigates the bad behavior, Dragon. I thought that was so charming and refreshing. And then when she does run into him later on, like, it's not that she endorses the behavior, but but it's not like she's, getting down his throat about it either because she knows she brought it on. So
Yeah,
I don't know. There was just something really refreshing about this dynamic. It was like, it was much more in the Wexler department than the Skylar White department, if you
absolutely.
will.
That's perfect analogy. Yes, she's very much kind of the grounding tether while he's tripping out. One could say. One could say his Dwayne Johnson or The Rock for basically the gag in the movie, which is quite clever. It's quite fun. You're my Dwayne Johnson, man. Regardless, that's the thing. So I love that. Also, I love so Jillian Bell. Of course, sometimes I think she can be really great in a role, and this is one of those times. Jillian Bell, oh my God, she's so fun. Of course, recently Jillian Bell really killed it on Green Eggs and Ham. She has
Yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah. She
We
did.
actually have two Green Eggs and Ham alumni in this, actually. Anyway, so yeah, so because she rolls with the absurdity very well. She rolls with it so well in this. But yeah, Isaac. So anyway, so with Isaac again, he's kind of facing the doubts of fatherhood, and the interesting thing about Isaac is that he's the most grown up out of the bunch. With kind of the forthcoming kind of
But
birth of the
he's
child.
also going through by far the most ridiculous like story in the movie.
Yeah, so like, at the same time, he's like the most grown up of the bunch. Yet we set him back by making him like he's reduced the most helpless and naive of the group. In that he's all drugged up and he's very much at the mercy of this bizarre trip that is going on, and again, basically his friends have to look after him. So yeah, essentially he is kind of reduced to the infant state. One could argue.
I mean, right, yeah. But Rogan is just so fun to watch and just all these sequences. I mean, I don't know.
Maybe
He
he
just like
crucifies a man by accident.
that's what I'm saying. Like he just really makes them. It's like a comedy version of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Dragon. That's what I love about it. It's like somehow if there was a Christmas special for Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas and Seth Rogen starred in it, this is what it would be like.
I mean, the thing that really cracked me up more than I expected to on the rewatch was kind of the hilarious religious awakening that he has. Where we kind of view the Jewish experience around the holidays, where some
He
you
kind
know
of
you would
has
imagine.
a Passion of the Jew sort of situation to paraphrase South Park.
Sure, sure. I mean, seriously, it's interesting because you get to see kind of the Jewish experience around a very kind of Christmassy holiday where sometimes gonna be the odd man out. It's just gonna happen sometimes.
He's just like in this very, very old school, like I think it was a Catholic church, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure. At this point,
Or
it was
like
a
a
really.
Baptist church or something like that. I think it was a Baptist church. Like
I'm
a
I'm
very
not sure.
old school. Well, point being, just a very old school church, and he's like the one person who's like, he's the one person who's just like gabbing his mouth off when everyone else is silently praying, and B, one person with clearly a Star of David Christmas sweater.
I love how he covers it up as if he's exposed.
Oh God.
Seth Rogen's just killing it in the comedy department in this movie. We can go on all day about. We have to be sparing about that because we don't want to take up the whole time talking about how funny Rogen is. But seriously, he's given the most. But that's so he is given the most real estate in that he gets in
I
regards to him
really
getting.
do think he steals the movie. As good as the other two leads are, I really think it's his movie.
Well, especially him trying to keep it together. Like, how does this look? Do I look normal now? It's just like, no.
I think he steals the movie in the same way that Jack Black stole the first Jumanji movie.
Yes, yeah, yeah, and then that's the thing. Is at the end of the day, with Isaac, is that he's a character who, again, father who's essentially forthcoming father who's just very much spiraling out of control while on a drug trip, and he's trying to keep it together, much like he's been trying to keep together his doubts, his inner doubts. about fatherhood, but in essence, his realization, his journey, his arc, if you will, is the realization that it's okay not to be in control, not to be able
Yeah,
to. It's
totally,
okay,
totally.
it makes you human. We're not all Dwayne Johnson anyway.
All right.
Okay, so
So Chris Roberts.
yes, the great and wonderful Anthony Mackie.
Oh God.
No, but seriously, I love Anthony Mackie, man. He's just so magnetic on screen. He's always just so delightful. Even the other movies I've seen him in, man, it's like you just always see. I've seen him in some bit parts in a lot of places. Of course, one of the best things I've seen Anthony Mackie in outside the MCU was this movie he did with Bryan Cranston. He did no, not LBJ. That's the one Woody Harrelson. He did All the Way. Bryan Cranston played Lyndon Johnson in All the Way. It was an HBO made movie based on the stage play that Bryan Cranston did. And Anthony Mackie played Martin Luther King, and he was great.
Nice.
So anyway, I'm sorry, I'm trailing off. Point. This is like a really hilarious Anthony Mackie performance here, where he's kind of the cool guy in the group who's found success. He's he's a he's got the Red Bull sponsorship.
By the way, Dragon, I happen to be drinking a large Red Bull right
I know
now.
that dawned on
Coincidence?
me in this very moment too. Yeah. So yeah, he's got the sponsorship and he's got the social media on his side. He's very much he's very kind of bon vivant in kind of the sporting world. Like, hey, look at me, I'm an athlete. Buy some Red Bull. Ah.
All right, here's where I come down on him. I think Anthony Mackie is very charming in the movie, for sure. I'm not going to take that away from him. However, I think his plot is the least satisfying out of the three plots.
Yeah, no argument there.
Okay.
I mean, it's the most minimal. I don't
Because
think
basically his plot kind of results in... Basically, his plot is sort of like most of the padding in the movie. You know what I mean? Between trying to get the weed and then also... the pursuit with the Grinch. I think that is where most of the padding comes from. Now, granted, the weed stuff with Mr. Green we'll get to is gold, but still, it's still kind of padding the movie out.
One could say caviar gold.
Oh. All right.
I so rarely get to work that reference in anyway. Anywho. But yeah, that's a look. I wouldn't say it definitely gets the least development out of the three. Let me put it this way: it's the most telegraphed, as in where it's going. Where okay, he's basically trying to please people who obviously don't really care about him. It's a little on the nose, a little telegraphed. Not the worst in the world, because again, I think we get stuff like Mr. Green in the pursuit of that story, so it all kind of works out at the end of the day. Mrs. Roberts, his mother, I like how her role is that she's kind of the supportive reminder of where he comes from. And my favorite bit about this, I love Mackie just with the prideful mom, and he's a good boy, It's just like, why don't you take this down to the home show? Oh yeah, mom, but I got stuff to do. He says, okay, you're a good boy. It's adorable to see him like that. And they're playing GoldenEye at his mom's house.
I love the N64.
Yeah.
I mean, I have some mad nostalgia for N64 Dragon.
I knew you were gonna love that bit.
Not necessarily GoldenEye. I was more of a Mario Kart kid, but still.
Oh, of course. It's the fact. Anyway. So the idea, so Chris, he's maturing and outgrowing his old friends, but the question of the movie is it for better friends though? And obviously the answer is no. These are just athletes who essentially, in essence, are kind of bullies, and again, kind of and they put him on a path of steroids. Like the only way he's going to be someone is if he basically kind of sells out on the person at his core that of who he is, and he kind of basically the mother's angel that he is. He's kind of betraying that when he's kind of chasing. He's literally chasing acceptance all throughout this movie in the form of a holiday Grinch played by Alana Glazer.
So, what do you think of the holiday Grinch?
I thought it was quite funny. I gotta tell you. Well, I think it's a little weird the way she enters the fray here with with the way she meets meets Mackie. But I love the idea that she is just like a fully self-accepting, like, yeah, I'm all the holiday bad guys, and she's been inspired not by like the
That
not
is
by
funny.
the
That is funny how she like idolizes all the holiday bad. Like my hero Hans Gruber died like this, and then she just jumps off the building into a giant like freaking dumpster full of trash bags. That's
That's
great.
what's hysterical to me. It's like the
Yeah,
fact that
yeah. That was fun. That was fun for
that
sure.
she's watched all the holiday stuff, but she's taken the wrong message away from it.
Referencing like the wet bandits.
That's the sticky bandits too, like literally Home Alone 2.
Oh God.
So the Christmas one, well,
Dragon, I would wager to say that the Christmas Grinch would be on our side of saying that Home Alone 2 might be arguably better than Home Alone 1.
essentially, yeah.
All right.
Right. Okay, so speaking of, so of course, the pursuit of the Holiday Grinch is at the behest of retrieving the stolen marijuana in question here, the stolen weed, if you will, and of course, that all stems from Mr. Green.
Okay, Dragon. Look. I wanna make something clear with you, buddy. All right. You might enjoy this character. You enjoy this character. I know you do. Obviously, you've hyped the character up for me. Here's the thing, Dragon. All right. As a NorCal stoner who grew up before marijuana was legalized and had to get my weed from sketchy folks from time to time. Dragon, I have absolutely had these encounters before, and oh my god, they nailed it, Dragon. They nailed it, Dragon. It's oh my god. This is so accurate. You know, from I think the line that really summed it up, like the whole like, yeah, I've been there is like the whole like, well, 30 minutes waiting for Mr. Green could turn into 2 hours standing out here in the cold. And I'm like, Yep, thank God I can just go to the dispensary and get it whenever I want now because oh man, I've been there. But oh man, Dragon, just all the all the sketchiness of a street drug deal between a middle-aged man and a bunch of high schoolers is just it's so perfectly replicated, Dragon. Oh my god.
So easily, Mr. Green.
It made me nostalgic for my high school drug days, if I'm being honest.
So easily, Mr. Green, best character in the whole piece. He's perfect.
I mean, I think Seth Rogen has the most to do, but yeah, Mr. Green is like he steals the show from everyone in his limited screen time.
So the genius thing about Mr. Green is that we take a drug dealer. It's kind of a drug dealer meets Clarence from It's a Wonderful Life. That's essentially what we're working with here. And it sounds so insane when you say that, but again, it's truly a great Michael Shannon performance. Oh my goodness, Michael Shannon is.
I'm just like appreciating Michael Shannon more and more and more every year.
Seriously, if you like this, again, I point you to Premium Rush.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
And again,
yeah,
he's playing opposite Joseph Gordon Levitt too. So it's really they have really great. They have a really great intimidating. Like Michael Shannon, of course, famed for his intimidating scenes. If you've taken anything from The Shape of Water, you get to see that kind of in its infancy with Premium Rush. Anyway, so let's see. So, of course, essentially the idea, like, this is like a guy who's, like, kind of watched these boys grow up in the 15 years. Essentially, he's like the friendly neighborhood dealer. It's essentially his role. He's like kind of the ice cream man of, he's kind of the ice cream man of substances. One could say. So again, it's just kind of this wise Solomon who apparently is an angel, but also one of the sons of Santa Claus. Apparently.
Yes.
I'll admit I still don't quite get how that one works, but I'll take it. I'll roll with it.
Dragon, it's not supposed to work.
Well, I know that much. That's my point. It's like, okay, I'll go with it. But I do love the idea that he views the boys as his children in an odd sense. As like, you're all my children. I see did you ever view me as a father figure? I'm staring into your soul right now. We can quote him all day. It's quite hysterical anyway.
But like I said, Dragon, that's the thing. It's like I have definitely known folks like that who do consider like their teenage clientele to be sort of like their the best way I can describe these people, Dragon, is that they're almost kind of like Fagans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oliver Twist,
Yeah.
Fagans, like
Yeah.
yeah, like they're kind of like these wayward sort of like, ah, I'm gonna bring these rapscallions in. I'm gonna take them under my wing.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways,
All right. So we've said a lot of nice things, especially about Mr. Green, but now it's time to check the list and check it twice. We got to find out who's naughty and what's nice.
right? I mean, God, like honestly, with Naughty, I really don't have a ton because I thought from
Me
top to
either.
bottom this thing was pretty entertaining.
What I'm saying.
Um, I mean, I guess that some of the romantic stuff is maybe like a little too easily wrapped up.
Well, for me, it's honestly the only legit negative naughty thing I have for the movie is that the proposal is a bit of an extra hoop to jump through that we don't really need. Again, it's handled. Again, this is what I'm talking about. This is the thing that Jonathan Levine always like kind of has you. And the long shot has this too, where it's basically Levine being so smart in the writing here, where it's like, yeah, we gotta jump through a hoop, but I'm gonna make it credible, and he does make it credible.
Mhm.
Where it's like, yeah, I don't want to jump through this whole proposal thing. It seems like a bad idea, but he calls himself on it, like, yeah,
I'm
this
not
was a bad
talking about
idea.
the proposal, though. I'm just saying, like him randomly showing up at the parents' house and going inside to meet the parents. That honestly kind of felt like a little like it maybe would have resonated with me a little more if JGL would have ended up alone at the end.
Well,
Honestly,
remember though, she admitted that she too was regretful the relationship had ended, and that's why she conveniently showed up at all the places earlier on. That's what I'm saying. He justifies it, man.
yeah, you're right. You're right.
Look, I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm just saying I think he pads the landing really well.
I do think, speaking of padding, thank you. I do think there is some padding in this movie. It's all fun padding, to be sure.
Yeah,
Between Mr. Green and the
like
Grinch, but I
like
do think
festive
that this
confetti.
I don't think this movie is as much of like an epic Christmas romp as it wants you to think. I don't think there's, as many like wacky set pieces or anything like that. I think overall there is, it is kind of like a Christmas movie on a budget in that regard. We're kind of using our same sort of like, back alley sets again and again. But you know what? Like I said, it's so entertaining that it doesn't even really matter. But I do think that the whole like big epic night, it doesn't feel that epic, Dragon. I will say that much.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, they basically have like their set traditions, and the idea things are supposed to get really wild at the party, and they kind of do. A man gets crucified, so things do get wild. An athlete gets crucified, not by the sports community.
Yeah.
But I'll admit, it does when you say it like that and you make a point, like for example, remember the whole like, let's hop the sled, I gotta get that weed back, and of course we instantly the thing breaks instantly because it's chained to the pole. And I mean the closest thing to like really riotous shenanigans are Seth Rogen's kind of being dragged for a while, but again it's it's pretty much as far as it really goes in terms of like really kind of out there stuff.
Right, right.
I mean, honestly, for me, again, as I mentioned, the proposal is the biggest criticism I have against it. But again, padded, mind you. But it's the point being, beyond that, the framing device with the whole narrator of it all, it's just basically in there for a gag, which is not negative. It's just kind of a one, it's basically that, and we pay it
God
off.
damn, it's really surprisingly hard to
Yeah,
criticize this movie. I
I'm
mean,
saying
and like I
it's a
said, I want to
gag.
emphasize that this movie isn't like perfect or anything. It's not like a 10 out of 10 or anything, but
No.
I think it's a very solid 8 in terms of a
Yeah.
Christmas comedy.
Again, maybe some of the CG hallucinations. I don't know, maybe not the big. Again, on a budget though. You know.
Right.
Maybe they could have taken the less is more, and I think Rogan could have sold it enough just with his looks of like, oh god, like looking at Mrs. Mrs. Roberts just kind of like pouring the wine with like really weird looking tentacles and everything. I don't know.
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah, we really didn't need those sort of visual hallucinations. I think Rogan, I think the drug stuff works the best when it's just like Rogan selling you on it.
Yeah, I mean honestly, that felt more like that's kind of the stamp of Goldberg and Rogan, that kind of doing their thing where it's kind of like the this is the end type effect,
Right, right.
we have like demons the size of skyscrapers. And speaking of demons the size of skyscrapers from This Is the End, maybe a little too much seeing the adult photo sent over the phone. I mean, honestly, I think
Oh yeah, that's yeah.
again, that's what
Not
I'm saying.
gonna
I'm
lie.
arguing. And again, I'm not saying it
I
makes or breaks
love
the
where
movie.
that gag
Yeah,
leads. Don't get me wrong,
what I'm
but
saying is honestly Seth Rogen's performance, and this is what I'm saying even with the CG thing, where Seth Rogen's performance is enough where I don't need to see it, man. I'm just playing off his reaction, his
and
conversational
that's the
remark.
thing is that it is a really funny scene,
Yeah,
regardless of the fact that it's a little gratuitous.
yeah. I mean, I don't need to
And
see
what I
what I'm
like about it
seeing.
is that it does kind of like it also gets into your head of like what it is like on a drug trip when something like that happens to you and like your thought goes your thought process just goes a million miles a minute.
I just love how flattered he is initially.
God.
I just love how he's just so wrapped up, not realizing instantly this is not my phone, but just the realization of like, oh wow, I've never used that. I love this. It's a fun misunderstanding comedy right there. And he just kind of gets just goes off like, well, I don't. He's being charmed by the other man on the phone who we'll bring up later. All right, okay. So again, that's literally all the naughty. I have one legit naughty gripe, and it's not even like a full on. It's like we kind of need it, but it's
Yeah.
not terrible, Anyway, okay, let's move on to the nice. Back to the nice stuff.
I mean, I think the performances and the chemistry are all really, really on point.
Mr. Green,
Um,
now specifically with Mr. Green, I love the three-act structure. If he has a spiritual revelation with each of our three characters in each act, essentially. We have Chris in Act One. We have we have sorry, we have
we,
Chris.
the
We have
future,
Isaac in Act
past,
Two.
present, future.
Huh? I guess.
What did you not realize that? Yeah, he each makes them take a hit of weed, and each weed is a different like past, present, and future.
Yeah, here's the thing. When you said that, I just then realized in the moment, oh my God, yeah, Mackie would have to be the present. So that makes perfect
That's what I'm
sense.
saying. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that is brilliant. I'm loving this movie even more now. But seriously, I love the whole three-act structure. But you're right, it is kind of a past, present, future. It's a little jumbled, mind you, because it's not directly like we don't start with the past. But yes,
Oh.
great. So again, the theme of the holiday enlightenment and the traditions being challenged. That's a really good theme that we're rolling with there.
Yeah, and like I said, with the Betsy character, very, very refreshing to have like a drugged out Seth Rogen and not have like like a bitter wife at home scolding him. As a
Yeah,
matter of
not like
fact, she's the one that kind of brought it on.
yep. And she's like saying, "Get out of here! Get out of here! Get out of here!" So also speaking of which, again, overall, again, the roles of the women within the story to offset and reflect kind of our characters' roles again fits up really nicely.
Yeah, I
I
just I just need to keep emphasizing that Seth Rogen's drug acting is like some of the finest this side of Johnny Depp in Fear and Loathing, man. It really is.
All right, we have some fun homages to the films as well as kind of our holiday movie nods. Again, the biggest one being Lana Glazer's Grinch character.
My one of my favorites is like towards the end when Seth Rogen gets the text about the baby coming in and he does the Home Alone face.
Ah! So we
Oh,
reference literally both Home Alone movies in this.
yes, we
We reference
do.
two,
Yes,
and
we
then
do.
but we start with two. We
Just like
start.
we did, Dragon. Just like we did.
Oh, yes, you're right. Yeah,
His Home Alone 2 is the better movie.
that is true. That is true. Oh, of course,
Sorry, not sorry.
the piano homage to Big. When they're playing the department store playing. It's not really a Christmas thing, but it's awesome.
It is a good song, though. I really like that song.
Of course, Mackie with like little megaphone in back. Okay,
Right, right.
then this next thing was a runner up for my moments. I really wanted to put it in there, but it's more of a it's more of a set thing. I love the entrance to the Nutcracker Ball so much.
Oh yeah, totally,
The
totally.
lights, the coat, the coat check, the whole
And
it's
then I love how Mr. Green like explains like, yeah, that's the new addition we added this year. Isn't that a bitchin' way to enter a party?
I love, again, in working on a budget as well, I love how we have everything. It plays to the strength of kind of like a hidden New York setting almost, a very hidden
Totally,
city setting
totally.
where, I love how we go essentially to a convenience store and essentially present the Nutcracker Ball tickets and you go through this really, it's practical yet mystical at the same time. It's a grounded mystique in the production design. It's
I
awesome.
can say, Dragon, I have been to a couple comedy clubs in San Francisco that have a similar setup. You don't like walk right through the convenience store, but it's basically like in an unmarked, an unmarked little office like to the side of the convenience store down a set of stairs. It's like almost that inconspicuous.
I do like the Red Bull sponsorship.
The Red Bull sponsorship is great because it's just so naturally like, yeah, it is product placement, sure, but it is very much like naturally a part of it. Oh my God. And Dragon, I gotta say, one of my favorite moments, kind of a runner-up for a favorite moment of mine, is when the limo driver just gets all gung-ho, like, she stole your fucking weed. Oh, I'm gonna kill her.
Joshua, the Red Bull limo driver.
I just love how protected he is over the weed,
Do
Dragon.
you remember? Remember when he crashed? He's like, "Oh, I did a bad thing."
Oh man.
Okay, so again, like we have the hallmarks are all there. We have Santas, of course, abusive Santas, mind you. But we have the bar pub crawling Santas. We have a church. We have again the Jewish experience around the holidays. We have department stores. Speaking of department stores, Randall Park, man, I
Yeah,
love seeing
yeah.
him. Love when he pops up with things. Point being, a great cast overall. Mindy Kaling, we should shout her out as well. The great Mindy Kaling. She has a little role there. She's
Just
kind
like
of
two scenes, but even her, even with her, she's got a pretty memorable role.
I still think she's a little hard on Isaac because it was an accident with the nosebleed and everything. It wasn't his
Okay,
fault.
well, to be fair, it wasn't the nosebleed. It was more the fact that he's like an expected father to like blatantly doing cocaine, and she doesn't understand that, his wife gave it to him as a present.
Right, right. Also, Tracy Morgan Claus.
Oh God, yes,
So again,
yes.
that's what I'm saying with the whole framing device here. Where again, like if I don't know. Here's the thing. I didn't need him to do it all throughout, but it just seems kind of like a weird choice. We started like the whole "'Twas the Night Before" for the
Uh,
namesake of the movie, and then we just kind of drop it off until the end. We're like, hey, we brought back Tracy Morgan Claus.
I
What do you
mean, it
know? And
even
he was,
like in the beginning, they're even like some of the dialogue is like rhyming and everything.
yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. All right.
All
Okay.
right. Favorite scenes? I believe I have the first one.
Uh, yes.
Okay. So, Seth Rogen, as I said, he's got the big old bag of drugs, kind of like the mini Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas bag of drugs. He starts out with some mushrooms, he's feeling good, feeling good. But then, Dragon, then the subject of having the kid comes up, the subject of his impending fatherhood comes up. He starts to freak out a little bit. He starts to feel the effects of the shrooms. And so he runs into the bathroom. And what does he do, Dragon? He snorts a little cocaine just to even out his high. And that is not a good idea. No,
Nope.
siree. So
It's like there's like
basically,
a
he
sign for
ends
uppers and downers, and it's a whole.
right. He- God. So basically, he just ends up in this drug-fueled frenzy, probably the peak of his drug mania in the whole movie, where he's just on his phone, just recording this incredibly, just like off the cusp, like rant against the baby, like fuck you for ruining my life. I fucking hate you. This is such a fucking terrible idea. We should have never had you. I'm gonna fucking put you in a sack and throw you into a river. Fucking cunt. And Dragon, I will say that was the subplot of the movie that I could get behind. The whole like, oh God, no, he's got to get that phone back.
Yep.
Like that did not feel like padding. That felt urgent.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I don't know. I just love the performance of Seth. I love how just like the handheld quality to the video just makes it all the more realistic. And it is like, at a certain level, it's a little bit shocking. You're just like, oh shit, like this guy really is just going off right now. But then Dragon, then again, just to give freaking points to Betsy over here, man, MVP for best wife of the year. Seth Rogen, and I thought it was so gutsy of him to come clean. I know for a fact. I'm sorry, Dragon. I am not this honest of a person. If I would have recorded a video like this, there's no way my significant other would have seen it. I'm sorry, but the first thing I would have done was like, okay, that no one's ever going to see that. Delete. But Seth Rogen comes clean, and Dragon. I gotta say, the resolution just warmed my heart, and the whole, I love how they kind of come to terms with like, yeah, both of us aren't ready, but we're gonna be each other's Dwayne the Rock Johnsons. And then, of course, one of my favorite lines in the movie, like, did you just call our baby a cunt?
Yeah.
So, yeah, really fun stuff there. Okay, and then next two are going to go by pretty fast. So, yeah, we already talked about kind of like the build up to this James person, Dragon. And Dragon, I gotta say, I felt really stupid that I didn't realize what this was building to. Because of course it's gonna be Franco. Of course it's gonna be Franco. How could I not see that it was Franco? Oh my god. But oh, Dragon, this might be one of my favorite Seth Rogen, James Franco scenes, my friend. I mean, just the way that, like, he is just clearly just completely completely getting in the way of Mindy Kaling having any action with this guy. This guy is clearly like, Dragon, I think it's fair to say that James Franco is playing, blatantly bisexual in this movie. I don't think he's just outwardly gay, but he is into Seth Rogen, man, and Seth Rogen is into him, and there's some sort of magic happening in the air.
I think he's definitely. Honestly, I get the sense that he was open to a three-way, but more in the sense of, I think he would get distracted by the bromance, so whoever would be the third, the female member of the three would basically be kind of waiting in the corner like, man, when is it my turn?
Right.
I think that's essentially what would happen. I think essentially that's kind of like that's eventually it had things really escalate and had like had the drugs completely thrown Isaac just completely off course. Oh wait, married, right? It's not a free pass, married.
But I don't know, I just love the fact that this mysterious, like, dick pic guy just turns out to be, like, one of the most pleasant dudes in the whole movie. just a randomly really, really nice, charming guy who, of course, happens to be Franco. And, of course, Franco, you got to imagine that Franco insisted on him having a huge dick and that being a big plot point, right?
Well, literally a big plot point. No, Craig and Mindy Kaling, basically, I love how she's like literally third wheel, especially when they're dancing, they're doing like little arm bridge thing. It's like she's in the middle there, and she's trying to take credit for all the Isaac stuff and everything. But I also love like the camaraderie. Like, you think you can handle it? I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it would take some effort, but yeah, I think you can handle it, man. It's like, oh gosh, just this whole. There's a number of ridiculous things. You notice the recent trend of Franco just missing pants within his movies.
Oh God.
There's this. There's disaster. There's disaster artist. There's why him. It was just a series of Franco's being allergic to pants during his movie. I don't know. Anyway.
All right. And then let's see. My last moment is going to be all the Miley Cyrus stuff. Dragon, I never watched Hannah Montana or anything, but that was a little, I was a little too old for that by the time that rolled around. I would say, like, the Amanda Show is probably the closest thing I ever had to a Hannah Montana type.
Well, trust me, Amanda Show is far superior.
Oh, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. No doubt about that. But I've always been sympathetic to Miley Cyrus. I always have. I've always found Miley Cyrus to be kind of like this sort of fascinating kind of like, what the Disney bubble can do to a person on a psychological level. And so I gotta say, it was really refreshing to just see Miley Cyrus just popping up in this and just totally being herself, not giving a fuck, and just, just very much kind of like both playing into the Disney thing, with the whole like, like, what should I call you? Call me Hannah. That joke was great. So she's kind of like this, she's both sort of like this magical, this magical person that just kind of shows up as almost kind of like a MacGuffin to save the day, which is very Disney-like. But she is also playing her kind of like brash, sort of cynical personality that, she sort of is and she's known for these days. And Dragon, let me argue the proposal for you, because I actually really like the proposal. I think the proposal is really clever. The reason I think the proposal is clever is that to me, this is the most, like, dare I say, Ryan Johnson-esque sequence of the film, because it subverts our expectations, man. We think this is going to be like the big moment in the movie where the couple gets together, but it's really not. And I love how we even get that subverted where she says yes in front of the crowd, but then later on, it's like, no, it's a hard no. And first of all, I just, Miley just kind of enunciating everything, like, just cracks me up, like doing the backing vocals to the proposal just cracks me up. But I don't know, Dragon, I think there's really something to be said with the whole, like, you have to earn it, man. You have to work harder than just doing this grand gesture. He really kind of spoke to me a little bit. Is it padding? Yes. Is it kind of like the third act misunderstanding? Yeah, no doubt. But I think it's a realistic third act misunderstanding.
Oh, by the way, before I forget about it, I forget if I undersold this or not. I do love Lizzie Kaplan, by the way. And so odd that she actually has worked with both Seth Rogen and James Franco on a few occasions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So your favorite moments?
All right. Okay. So my favorite moments. So they're quite simple. Honestly, there was a plethora to choose from. Folks.
There really are.
I had to go with the stuff that just made me at my core laugh the hardest. So I kind of that's kind of what I went with. Either laugh or feel the hardest. So Isaac. So the first one is Isaac hallucinating the kindly Wiseman conversation.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. That's great and very accurate to how drugs affect your brain.
So I just love this. Again, it's such a insanely pleasant. We see the insanely pleasant charm of Seth Rogen in effect right now, where it's just like, oh, hello, I'm sorry, I got to admit I'm a little on drugs right now. I'm not really not myself. He's holding the crook and everything, the shepherd's crook. It just looks great, and it's just he meets this helpful yet imaginary nativity scene member, Spencer and his family, as far as he's concerned. And I just love how responsive Spencer, kind of the lead Wiseman of the group here, or the lead shepherd of the group here, is just saying, "Oh yeah, hey man, yeah, of course, all dogs can talk, yeah."
Oh God.
just like, hey, Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas to you too. It's so delightful and absurd. And of course, he gets caught by his wife in the middle of his conversation. He's hanging out with the little fake dogs and everything. It's hysterical. Just so pleasant and hysterical. All right, so. Next, we have the sweater argument. So, easily the hardest, the biggest laugh I have in the movie. At the end of the day, I couldn't not put this in there. The argument, basically the low of lows with our characters, as they're basically the friendship really faces trial and tribulations before they all split up as they finally get to the party. They're on the subway. They're all like, you split up. You left me there after I got beat up by Santa Clauses. He's tripping out. You're taking steroids. Basically, they're all at each other's throats here. And basically, the zenith. We mean business here. Like, oh God, it's the low of lows for sure. It's when Anthony Mackie takes off his sweater. And I love it. Just like we have this hilarious argument, it's like over the pseudo racist acrylic sweater. You're making me wear the stupid pseudo racist acrylic sweater. And the line that cracks me up, the line that I can't keep it together at, is Anthony Mackie when he's defiantly removing the sweater as Joseph Gordon Levitt saying, "Don't you take off that sweater!" And Anthony Mackie says, while the sweater's over his head, "I'm taking off the sweater." it's just these growth.
Okay, what I love about this, Dragon, what I think makes this scene is like the fact that it's ridiculous, but it's also like I feel like the moment is earned. You know what I mean? It's earned from a dramatic point of view, and yet it's still really funny.
The sweater is the perfect symbol of the movie because again, it's the tradition. It's absurd, but also there's a sentiment there. It's like the way we look at the ugly Christmas sweaters these days, where again the sweater Is it like something you wear year-round? No. Is it something you wear at Christmas time? Absolutely. You face no judgment. But also, again, there's a love behind that sweater. There's a threaded love within the tapestry of the history of that sweater. There is, and again, and Chris, and my favorite details after this, Chris is wearing the sweater like tied around his waist, so he hasn't completely given it up. He didn't just leave it on the subway. It wasn't a jerk about it. He still has it. So I just love that fact. He still has the sweater. I mean, I just love it's this ridiculous argument, but again, the sweater being the perfect symbol. Like he's removing the sweater. The friendship is fractured. Awesome. So then we have that's the most hysterical part for me, the sweater bit. Now, my favorite, the favorite kind of heartfelt seasonal bit of the whole thing, Mr. Green's holiday moral with Ethan on the rooftop of the Nutcracker Ball. So, this is a great quiet scene with Ethan. There are a lot of Mr. Green scenes to pick from. I was really leaning towards the Seth Rogen scene, but
I thought for sure you were going to take the Mr. Green gets his wings moment.
I wanted to, but I fear we mentioned he's an angel, so it's great. So I wanted to, but again, I get if I can only do 3 moments, I had to go with the sweater thing over the angel thing. It was make a call anyway. My point is that him getting his wings is hysterical, mind you. Point being. So I just love how quiet and well acted the scene is here, where it's just this great reveal that Mr. Green he hosts the Nutcracker Ball every year, and he got the idea from The Great Gatsby. It's a really good book.
The Great Gatsby is one of my favorite books of all time, so I loved that whole notion, Dragon. I really did.
And he shouts out the movie too.
And it is a good movie. Book's better, but the movie's good.
What cracks me up though is he saw it in 3D.
I'm pretty sure there were 3D screenings of that film.
That's what I'm saying.
That film was like marketed as being like super flashy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He bought into it, which is funny. So we basically have like a parallel of the story where he kind of started with a few buddies, and it kind of parallels that a little bit to his own story here, and kind of Ethan's kind of like nudging towards the lesson, and then we have just this insanely funny and great deadpan dialogue from Michael Shannon. It's so great. Like I think my favorite line within the conversation in terms of those hysterical lines is he's offering the weed or the Incada. I forget what specific strain it is, but. Indica, sorry, the indica from.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the indica from earlier. The point being, it sends him into the past, so maybe it's a different strain. I don't know. The point being,
well, just for reference, Dragon, indica is sleepy time weed. Sativa is weed that gets you going.
Well, my point is the indica is indica.
Yes, indica.
Well, the point is the indica. That's what he used to send Seth Rogen into the future. So. My point is, so when he's offering it to him, he says, "Oh, you're making me okay, dude. You're making me uncomfortable." People say my quiet intensity has that effect on people.
I just love how he has such dignity in the fact that, like, yes, I do make people uncomfortable, and it's part of who I am, but there's not anything I can do about it.
Quiet intensity has that effect on people. It's just so great. But seriously, this scene does have some actual Christmas magic, which of course leads to the flashback in which we see the tradition being started when we kind of like we youth them all from the montage from earlier, but we get to see like them stopping by and just kind of trying to cheer up their friend. It's such a heartfelt flashback to kind of the to the strength of the friendship, to the very beginnings of the friendship while it's kind of in its darkest hour, and it really is, this scene is the soul of the movie. It's absurdist, but it also has the heart within the scene. And it's something really great, and again, I think Michael Shannon has really brought that out in the scene. Again, Levitt being a really good scene partner here, he's kind of being really reflective of it as well. And it's the whole it's the moral of the film in all the right ways. And again, a scene that ipso facto gets Mr. Green his wings. I linked them both together. Okay.
All right. Okay, so Dragon, that leaves us with one final question. How's it hold up?
I tell you, the movie holds up surprisingly strong. Maybe not for everybody, maybe not for all, but it's like it's no holiday classic, that's for sure. But it's a solid movie, and it captures the holiday spirit very well. It delivers in the Rogen Goldberg staples as we've kind of gone through. I think it's another win for for Jonathan Levine in kind of his unconventional films of choice here. He's going to go with an out there idea that kind of delivers with the sentiment and the comedy and the funny, and kind of like, oh, I never would have pitched that as a movie, but it works. And it's a fun movie for for friends in a crazy Christmas setting for sure. It's quite delightful. It really is. It's just such an entertaining. It's an entertaining film. Is it top 10 Christmas movie material? Probably not, but it's top 20. Definitely a top 20.
I mean, I would say it is pretty top tier when it comes to Christmas comedies. I mean, outside of like the big god tier things like Christmas Vacation, this is up there, man. This is up there. Especially R-rated Christmas comedies, which we don't have that many good
Well, if you look at
ones.
it that way, then yeah, I mean, it beats the crap out of why him for sure.
Oh God, yes. Oh my God.
But again, both
But
share factors, so it's all relative.
But yeah, I think this movie is a very kind of lean and mean, clever little comedy. I think it's got some great character writing in there. I think, I'm of the opinion that drugged out Seth Rogen is the best part about the movie. Um, but everything else is solid too. There's a little padding here and there, but that doesn't stop it from being a fun ride from beginning to end. And I think it was a solid surprise. And Dragon, here's the controversial statement. You ready?
Yeah.
I honestly think I probably like this better than This Is the End.
Really?
Just because
Wow.
I feel like This Is the End, there's some repetition to that movie that's not present with this.
Yeah, I'll admit though, the one thing that this Ian does have over is it's Poirot with a giant novelty champagne glass. Well, champagne bottle.
I mean, there are things with it. Look, basically, I don't really like the J stuff, and This Is the End. I don't care for the J Baruchel stuff, and This Is the End. But this movie, it's just kind of like I said, it's not like a flawless like 10 out of 10 masterpiece, but it is pretty from beginning to end. It is pretty
It's the definition of solid. It really is.
right,
It's just
right.
it's firm, man. It's a very firm Christmas R-rated Christmas comedy in the best of ways. It's tight knit, man. Tight knit like a
All right.
darn Christmas sweater.
Dragon, before we do our outro, I'm just going to ask you, because you're more familiar with this movie than I am, to go ahead and drop the quote at the end, if you don't mind. Just get something prepared there, and go ahead and take us out, Dragon.
Well, also we should peek beneath the wrapping paper a little bit.
Oh, yes. Oh, you're right. You're right. Go ahead. What are we unwrapping?
Okay, well, folks, we're unwrapping something's dropped this year. Something brand spanking new under the tree. Oh my goodness! Delivered, set, sealed, and delivered. It's Klaus.
And wait a minute, Dragon. Wait a minute. It looks hand drawn. Could it be?
I dare I say it? With yes, yes, it is. Boy, what day is it? It's the day for Klaus for 2D animation.
All right. So we're going to be talking about Netflix's. I feel like it's almost kind of like an instant cult classic. Klaus getting a lot of love from a few select people. We're gonna break it down. All right, Draken, take us out.
Well, folks, time to dash away all. But as